Happy Thursday again, friend. Would love to have a chat with you about your energy output. Doesn't that just sound appropriate for spring? We're going to talk about specifically how your decision time being separate from your doing time affects your energy output. And we're going to have this conversation like we do often in the spirit of giving yourself some gifts. Separating your decision time from your doing time is going to be a really big gift to yourself for the sake of your mental bandwidth, your mental load, your energy conservation, your satisfaction with where your energy is going in the first place. Kind of a win 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 situation. Are you into it? So, what are we talking about? What does this mean? Decision time versus doing time? I want you to imagine you've set up a plan to go to the airport and you've got all of your timings down. You know, like, okay, traffic's going to be like this. We're going to account for these unknowns. And here's this contingency and packed up the car. We're ready to implement the plan. Effortless, right? You're like, oh, we're right on schedule. Thank God someone made a plan. High five, past self. And you get to your car and there's a flat tire. What happens in your brain and body? All systems go, right? All of the minions are called to attention in your mind. Hey, drop what you're doing. This is priority number one. We have a problem to figure out. Let's go. And you do it because you're good at stuff. You're fantastic at thinking on your feet and quick decision making. You're a decision master. We're all living our best lives. But you know the sensation of all of a sudden spending a lot of energy on, oh, I have some decisions to make in order to get where I need to go. And you also know that sensation of pulling resources away from other things. If you happened to have an email you need to send on the way to the airport, you were going to be a passenger in this example. You were not going to be driving and emailing at the same time. But if you happened to have an errand that was unrelated to this trip, that goes out the window, right? You don't think of that until you're already like on the plane, drink carts are going down the aisles, and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot I needed to do that thing because your energy was diverted away from it. So I want you to imagine what it would be like to operate like that all day long. Every decision you approach is met with this kind of level one fire reaction of only focus on this. This is all we can manage right now. All the resources need to be here, nothing to anywhere else. And that level of intensity and that energy expenditure. This is actually what's happening to a lot of us a lot of the time throughout the day. And it's burning energy. If you sit down at your desk, for example, and you have no idea what the plan is, what to do, where to start, you have a million options, you're potentially setting yourself up for that experience in this moment. You sat down at your desk, and all of a sudden, it takes a Herculean effort just to get to the next thing, to get to the metaphorical airport, to get the emails done or get the next thing on the project list checked off. So, as effective as you are at doing this, in the interest of setting up a more energy efficient way of operating, we have to pay attention to when are you setting yourself up to decide and implement in the same moment. If it's happening hour after hour after hour, if you're encountering these moments where you have to make a decision about what to do and then do it all at once, you're probably burning more energy than you need to, which is great news for us because that means we get to save you some energy. And we're not just saving you energy because, like, that's the trendy thing to do. We are paying attention to what is going to happen if you have to use less effort to get through your days. If you're showing up more in your day to implement and you're showing up slightly less often to make decisions about what to implement, where might those extra resources get to go? They might get to go to some things that are not getting a ton of your resources right now, which probably are things like your health, your leisure, or like fun, your non essential, low priority, air quotes, passion project or burning desire idea thing that just keeps getting kicked down the road because we never have enough energy for it. That's why we care about being energy efficient. It's not just because you should be if you can be. We don't want you having to effort through so much of your days. What you care about, your health, your happiness, your well being, your relationships, your leisure, deserve some of your resources that are being over consumed by this decision implementation mishmash we got going on. Make sense? So let me invite you to take a deep breath and quell some fears that might be creeping up because this is the point of the conversation where we can encounter some resistance. Because people like us are often, not always, but often structure people, but not routine people. I feel like if you came into my office and told me, hey, you're going to make your entire life easier if you just check emails from 9 to 10 a.m. every day. And like, you don't check them any other time and it's systematized and that's the routine. And there you go, all your problems solved. If you told me that, I'd probably push you out the window because, wow, that's not a way I want to live. Like the monotony. This is why I worked in live theater on not long running shows. This Broadway lifestyle, one of my friends, one of my dear friends in my stage management class from Yale, ended up on Broadway. And I never had any interest in that lifestyle because you get on a show and it's like, that's your life. Same show every night until the show closes. And he would get on some long runs, like over a year of the same show. Blech. No, thank you. We had decent runs for most of it because I worked in regional theater. So we had, a few weeks. That was all I could stand, though, honestly. I liked the rehearsal process because it was like something different every day, problems to solve. Let's keep it interesting. I liked tech because I like being in charge of high stakes, fun, dynamic situations. It was fun. The show part of life was like, "Oh, okay, here we go again. Do the same show." I had a lot of fun in a lot of my career. So just going to put that caveat in there. We'll do a stage management episode one day. How about that? Tell all the stories. So I'm not saying please make all of your life decisions in advance so that your entire life is mapped out in this like vanilla square box structure. And you're just making this plan that then you get to show up and implement with complete ease because that's not appealing. It's also not real life, right? I mean, maybe it's appealing for some people. If it is, Godspeed, do you. That's my point. I want you to really tune into how do you operate, what feels good for you. And I want you to also be honest. Some of the time when we're having client coach conversations and I ask someone, what would happen if we tried to implement a system for this or experiment with some structure around this? Sometimes their answer is, "Ugh, that doesn't feel good. That's not going to feel good." But this is where I need you to be honest because usually having zero system and feeling like there's 50% more chaos than necessary in every one of your days feels worse than the potentially unappealing idea of experimenting with a new way of doing things. So my suggestion is to meet yourself in the middle. It might be slightly out of your comfort zone to experiment with something new, but don't overcorrect so much that you just make that blanket vague decision in advance of, okay, I'll just do this every day. I'll just do emails every day from 9 to 10 because you're actually probably setting yourself up for failure unless that idea sounds really effortless to implement, in which case, yay, do that. If it doesn't feel realistic, then my suggestion is to start introducing some decision pockets in your weeks, in your months. We're looking for opportunities to make any decisions in one concentrated time that will make the future easier. And a lot of the time, the most effective way to do this is like 1 week at a time, maybe 2 weeks at a time. So you can look at your real life schedule and factor that in as you try to create a little bit of structure, a little bit of system around something that's burning too much energy on a regular basis. So if we take this example of emails, for instance, this is a really common energy suck. You can sit down and not know what you're going to do. So you decide to check emails, but then that sends you on 9 tangents and you're like, wait, this isn't even what I was supposed to do with this time anyway. How did I get here? And then you find yourself doing that over and over and over again. We could overcorrect and just do the blanket decision that's easy to ignore every day, 9 to 10 emails. Well, I really want you to do that though, if that feels easy. I'm not saying that's a bad system. I'm just saying don't set yourself up for failure if you know you're not going to do it, which would be me. What we can do is take a look at your real life week and look at when our email is going to realistically happen on this day. On this day, we don't have to micromanage it down to the minute, but we want to be able to set you up with an experiment that you can run and hold yourself a little bit accountable to. It might not feel effortless. It might take some work to do the plan that past you has set up for yourself. But we want to see overall, does it feel more energy efficient? Does it feel easier and less chaotic to pre make some of these decisions about, okay, this is going to be deal with email time on this day. This day is super full because I'm out of town for this half and then going to be in this meeting then. So I'm not going to do emails that day, which means I need to plan for more time afterwards. Do you see how working within the bounds of reality, looking at your real schedule, can make a real difference in this stuff that otherwise would be easy to say, oh, I'll just do 9 to 10 every day. But then when reality happens, you're like, I can't do that. That's not an implementable plan. So we're not just talking about calendar management, but this is something that does take so much of our energy, this not knowing what we're exactly doing with our time. So time is broken up in these energy spurts of I have to decide what I'm doing, which takes its own energetic load, and then I have to implement it. And we're looking at where is that happening in your week? How often? In what areas of life? Maybe it's work, maybe it's socializing, maybe it's family stuff, maybe it's house stuff. And where can we clean it up a little bit? One at a time. Just take one life area at a time. You could do this like once a week all through April and then come out the other side of April with things 5 degrees different, but feeling massively different. Which, by the way, is a great excuse to join Accountability April, which you have 3 days left to join if you want to get in by April 1st. It's the 30-day accountability and coaching program. We're going to do a concentrated, focused, let's build your momentum up, let's keep you accountable to what you want program with coaching built into it, because that's where accountability programs fail. I'm taking a tangent here for a second, but stay with me. Accountability programs fail because you just make one decision at the beginning about this is what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. And then you either do it or you don't. You fail or you pass. There's no middle ground. There's no room for correction. This is a great start. It is separating the decision from the implementation. But why coaching conversations can be so helpful during the process of implementing is you get help with all of the micro decisions along the way. So you make one decision. This is what I want to be accountable for. And then you close the books on that decision. So we're not going to remake it. We're not going to rethink it. We're not going to second guess it. Decision done. Now my job is to show up and implement my decision. I love how perfectly this fits into the theme of our episode today. But what happens once you start implementing? You learn new things. You find out what was hard that you didn't expect to be hard. You have other priorities come up and other problems to solve and new challenges and new opportunities. And you have to make micro decisions about how to respond to all of those things without totally abandoning your original decision. So that's what this program is for. And it's going to be so much fun. So you should definitely get in on it if you're listening in time. If not, you can still go to kirstenparker.com/accountability. The link will be in the show notes and find out when the next time we're going to do anything like this is. So I hope this is a fun concept for you to chew on a little bit this week. Just paying attention to how often am I combining my decision time and my doing time? How often am I having to use energy and mental force to make a decision in the moment about what I'm doing or who I'm talking to or who I'm involving in this thing that I'm thinking about or how I'm going to do something? All of that effort going into that decision, how often is that combined with implementing time of, okay, now I'm going to talk to the person. Now I'm going to do the thing that I just decided how to do it. And I want you to find just one change you could make. Maybe it's to do with your schedule. Maybe it is just putting a little pocket of decision time that's separate from everything else and making decisions about that week's schedule. Or if you look ahead and you think, oh, I have a thing that I volunteered to do or an event, you can look ahead. How many decisions are you going to have to make in real time? And can pre-make any of them? Can you separate out your decisions from that implementation time so that you have better brain power for implementing? Separating your decision time from your doing time frees up your brain so that you can think of things you wouldn't otherwise while you're implementing. If you're burning all your engines and running them all max speed, making all your decisions whilst you implement stuff, there's not going to be room for creative thinking or expansive problem solving or even just having a clear focus. You want to free your brain up so that your best brain is implementing. And if part of your brain is always consumed with, what am I doing? How am I doing it? Is this the right thing to be doing? Should I be doing something else? What am I doing next? Then those are resources that are not going to the thing that you are doing in the moment. This is also going to save you a ton of spaghetti throwing time and energy. A lot of our impulse quick decisions that we just make and then implement in the moment are not our best. It's fine. We got to give ourselves a break on not every rock that comes out of the sea is going to be a diamond, right? I don't know if that's a saying, but you get it. But if we build this into our foundational process of decision making, if this is just the way that we start living, where decision time and doing time are separate by design a lot of the time, then you get to build in natural zoom outs in your life, in your daily living. You get to have decision pockets where you look ahead to, oh, what family members do I want to make sure I see in person in the next 6 months? That might be a decision that doesn't occur to me if I'm operating in this like decide and implement at the same breath mode, as opposed to, oh my gosh, I haven't seen Aunt Agnes in 4 years and she just turned 96 and maybe I should hop on a plane tomorrow. I mean, you can do that, but it takes a lot more time, a lot more energy, a lot more money. You have to rearrange a bunch of things short term, right? A little spaghetti throwy, not impossible, just not ideal. Same thing with your career, your business, your household, your passion project. If you're always making decisions in the moment you're going to implement them, you don't leave yourself a lot of room for the long view thinking that's going to prevent you from making a lot of decisions that don't serve your overall mission or vision or don't align with your values or simply aren't the ways that you would do things if you gave it a little bit more thought. So please play with this. See how you can give yourself decision time that is independent from implementation time and just see what it buys you. See what the gains are. See what kind of brain and what kind of energy you show up to that decision session with and that implementation session with. And see if you do notice more energy, if you do notice more expansive thinking. I promise it is not an either or situation. You're not at risk of automatically falling into, oh my gosh, my entire life feels micromanaged, or I have to think through every possible scenario in advance and make all the decisions before I get to them. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we have to do ever. We're going to just do a little energy cleanup so that you get to use your resources for more of what you want and less of what you don't need to. If you try this out, I would love to hear. Please let me know at The Decision Coach on TikTok and at KP Coaching on Instagram. And if you're hearing this in time and you want to get in on Accountability April and you want to experience what coaching is like and you want to guarantee yourself that I am going to implement some stuff that I'm going to make powerful decisions about, but I'm also going to not set myself up for failure by making it all or nothing and really easy to quit, I would love to have you. Would love to work with you. We're going to get some fun, big stuff done, and we are not going to burn out while we do it. So I can't wait. I hope to see you there. And in the meantime, have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey, want to find out your decision style? Obviously, go take the decision style quiz. It's in the show notes and at kirstenparker.com/quiz. We all have our style when it comes to making decisions, but do you know how to use your default way of thinking to your advantage? Or do you mainly get stuck in the most annoying parts of overthinking and people pleasing? The decision style quiz has your answers, my friend. Take it right now at kirstenparker.com/quiz.